All right, let's jump right in. We usually talk about communication as a soft skill, something you're either good at or you're not. But what if we're looking at it all wrong? What if we could treat it like an engineering problem? I mean, what if we could actually design and build our conversations to get specific, predictable results? Well, that's what we're talking about today, a blueprint for engineering strategic connections.
I think we've all been there, right? It's a universal frustration. You've got this great idea, a really important update, a valuable offer, and it just lands with a thud. You feel like you're broadcasting, but the signal just isn't getting through. And in a professional setting, that's not just an awkward moment, it's incredibly costly.
And this slide right here, this shows you the real cost of that failure. When communication breaks down, it is so much more than a missed opportunity. It's wasted time, it's confused teams, and it is a direct hit to your efficiency. See, every single interaction is a chance to solve a problem, but only if your message is clear, persuasive, and, of course, respectful. So how do we fix it? Well, the solution is to stop guessing and start engineering. This right here is the strategic connection cycle. Think of it as a deliberate system. It moves from analysis, that's understanding exactly who you're talking to input, crafting the perfect signal, all the way to execution, building that bridge to actually connect with them. This is what transforms communication from some vague art form into a repeatable science. You know, every well-engineered structure, every skyscraper, every bridge, it needs a rock-solid foundation. And in communication, that foundation is, without a doubt, trust. Before we can even think about persuading or informing someone, we have to build on a platform of integrity first. Now, this is a really important distinction, the one between motivation and manipulation. See, ethical persuasion isn't about tricking people into doing something. It's about building an argument on three core pillars: honesty, so you're not exaggerating; clarity, so everybody's on the same page; and mutual benefit, which means you're focused on actually helping, not just closing a deal. Any short-term trick you pull just destroys long-term trust. It's not worth it. And on top of that foundation of trust, we build our actual argument using a framework that has stood the test of time. We're talking over 2,000 years. Aristotle's three pillars. You've got ethos, which is your credibility. Why should anyone believe you? Then there's pathos, the emotional connection. Why should they care? And finally, logos, the logic. Does your argument actually make sense? A truly persuasive message has a perfect balance of all three. Okay, so we've got our foundation of trust and our structural pillars. Now, let's get practical. How do we build these big ideas into actionable frameworks that we can use, every single day to bring that blueprint to life? Think of this as the assembly manual for your message. It's a proven, super structured way to organize your key points logically. Monroe's motivated sequence is basically a 5-step workflow to lead your audience from "who cares" to "let's do this." First, you grab their attention. Then you establish the need, show them there's a problem. Next, you provide the satisfaction with your solution. Then you help them visualize what that better future looks like. And finally, you call them to action. It's a really powerful, practical take on that classic AIDA model: attention, interest, desire, and action, just put into a nice, clear sequence. Now, let's take that powerful sequence and shrink it way down into a micro model, the elevator pitch. The goal here is simple: maximum impact in minimum time. That means you have to eliminate all the unnecessary details. Whether you're upselling to a customer or just trying to get your boss's attention, the principles are exactly the same. Clarity and confidence are everything. So what does that actually look like? Well, here's the anatomy. You start with who you are, that's your intro. Then you move to what you offer, this is your value proposition, and it needs to be backed by some kind of evidence, your logos. And then crucially, you have to end with the ask, a specific, super clear closing statement that tells them what to do next. No ambiguity allowed. And this isn't just for, big corporate boardrooms. In a daily service setting, this is just as powerful. So here's the offer, focusing on the feature. Our chef special is grilled salmon. Simple. Now, the benefit, what it does for the guest. It's light, it's fresh, and it pairs perfectly. And finally, the action. Would you like me to bring you a glass? See? Simple, structured, and incredibly effective. Any good engineer knows you can't just build something and assume it works. You have to stress test your creation. And in communication, that stress comes in the form of questions, of pushback, of objections. But here's a thought. What if we saw that not as failure, but as valuable feedback? So this is a huge mindset shift. An objection is not a no. It's really just a request for more information. When someone asks you a tough question about the price or the timeline, they're not shutting you down. They're actually leaning in. They're engaged, and they just need a solid, persuasive counterpoint to help them feel confident about moving forward.
And this is where the engineering gets really cool. Those objections are pressure points, right? And they allow you to reinforce your whole structure with these steel beams of trust and empathy. By addressing their concerns head-on and respectfully, you don't just win the argument, you actually build a much, much stronger connection. And here is a simple protocol for doing exactly that. First, you have to practice active listening. Don't interrupt, and then paraphrase their concern back to them to show you really get it. Second, address it with clear evidence and logic. That's your logos. And third, maintain a calm, respectful, and confident tone the whole time. Little pro tip here, try to anticipate the common objections ahead of time and have your answers ready to go. Okay, now get this, because this is what happens when things go really wrong. This is called the service recovery paradox, and it's fascinating. So a customer has a problem, and of course their loyalty just plummets. But if you acknowledge the mistake, you empathize with them, and then you solve the problem effectively, their loyalty can actually rebound to a level that's higher than it was before anything went wrong. A well-handled problem is a massive, massive opportunity. So far, we've really been focused on these one-to-one interactions. But of course, these principles all operate within a much larger ecosystem of teams and leaders and different cultures. So let's zoom out for a second and take a look at the bigger picture. Leadership communication isn't just one single style. It's a whole spectrum, and a great leader knows how to adapt. In a crisis, like a fire in the kitchen, you need an autocratic, decisive style now. But for long-term planning, a more democratic style that gets everyone's buy-in is going to be way more effective. The right style always depends on the moment. And that adaptability is absolutely crucial when you're communicating across cultures. A framework like Geert Hofstede's Cultural Dimensions can help us kind of decode our audience by understanding their underlying values. For instance, are they from a culture with high power distance, where you need to show more formal respect to authority, or maybe one with high uncertainty avoidance, where they're going to need clear rules and structure to feel comfortable? Adapting your message isn't being fake. It's a powerful sign of respect. This timeline here just illustrates perfectly how it all comes together. So look, at 5 p.m., a leader uses a democratic style for the team briefing. But at 7 p.m., a crisis hits, and they switch instantly to autocratic. Then a server uses their cultural intelligence to clearly explain the situation to an international guest. And finally, the team uses a structured approach for service recovery, which actually builds loyalty. It's the complete dynamic system in action. So after all that, what's the blueprint we can take away from this? It really comes down to 4 key principles. 1. Conflict isn't something to avoid. It's the forge where high-performing teams are made. 2. Leadership is a spectrum. You have to adapt to the moment. 3. Adaptability is respect. See cultural differences as a chance to learn something new. And 4. Recovery is opportunity. Turn every failure into deeper trust. The thing is, this isn't just theory. These are tools and blueprints you can start using right away. So, the real question is for you. Take a look at this blueprint. Which one of these principles will you consciously engineer into your very next conversation, whether that's a quick elevator pitch, handling a tough objection, or leading your team?